I've had a lot of people ask over the past couple weeks how to customize VCRM, how to add specific things to the profile or the trip screen so you can keep track of things that do not come with the system. The majority of this you're going to do from generate forms, edit fields, such as if you wanted to add like a marketing checkbox to be able to check a box if the client is okay with you sending them marketing materials. That would be in edit fields. Also under preferences, a lot of people like to edit that. You can put things like preferred destinations where you can check multiple items. You can do preferred hotels. You can do drop down menus where you could select aircraft seating preferences, different things like that. That's all going to be done in generate forms, edit fields. Now if you want to add an additional section to any of these screens, the first thing you need to do is go to generate forms, edit sections, create the section, and then you're going to go to edit fields and you're going to add the fields. So this is one I did here, emergency contact. So this is on every profile now on the demo account. If you wanted to, get that information from your clients, you can, build a whole section like this. So I'm going to add a section that was posted as an example to the Facebook page the other day. I'm going to put a trip checklist on the trip screen. So the first step is I'm going to go to edit sections. And I like to narrow it down to the screen that I'm working with, so I'm going to go to trip here. This way you can see the section order, so you can kind of know where you want to put it. It's more difficult on the profile when there's more sections. This one only has the one, but I want the new one that I'm creating to be below the trip information. So I'm going to click add new section here, and I'm going to put, for the section prompt, I'm actually going to come in here and name it trip checklist. That's going to be the title of that section. And for position, I'm going to make it number 2 because I want it right below the trip information. And then the number of columns, you can do anywhere from 1 to 5 columns. In this case, I'm going to do 2. And then I'm just going to save the section. So now I've got the section created, but there's no fields in it. So I need to add those by going to generate forms, edit fields. And again, I like to narrow it down to not only the screen, but the section that I'm working with, so I can see exactly where everything goes. So it's going to be the trip screen, the trip checklist section. You can see there's no fields found. So I'm going to add my first one. And I'm going to say that it's the trip screen and the trip checklist section. Now the field name, this is just kind of an abbreviation that you're going to put in there. You won't see what you type in here ever again unless you come back to this screen. You can't have any spaces, there can be no special characters, so just, this one's going to be an insurance quote sent, so I'm just going to put IQ in here. Now the prompt is what you're going to see on a day-to-day basis on the trip screen, so this you're going to want to write out insurance quote sent. And I'm going to make it a text box, and for the data type, I'm going to say that it's a date, so that I'll get the little calendar next to it, so I can click on that to actually select the date. You can do the same thing with numbers or currency. So I'm going to leave that like that. And position, I'm going to make that number 1. Now what new line is, in this case I selected that we want 2 columns. So the way it works is the top left, so column 1, row 1 is going to be position number 2. Position number 1. Column 2, row 1 would be position number 2. So somewhere over here would be number 2. Now if you don't want anything, if you want it all in one column like this, you would check new line. So that would make position number 2 right below position number 1 rather than putting it over here. And then display, you want to keep that checked if you want it to show up. What that is for is you cannot delete the fields that are pre-built into the system, but you can hide them. So for example, a lot of people don't care about fax numbers anymore. So if you would like to hide the fax number from the profile screen, you would go into generate forms, edit fields, find the fax number, click the pencil icon to edit it, and then you can uncheck that display box and then it will be hidden. Now be careful with that. You don't want to hide anything that you will need in the system, like a deposit due date field. You do need that. Don't hide that. Mainly for the profile stuff, you can hide things that you just don't care about. Fax number, Skype number, Facebook profile, things like that that aren't as common. Just uncheck that. And then required, this would be if you want to make it a required field where you have to put something in there before you can save the profile. So if it's something that's very important that every agent puts in for every profile or every trip, you can make that required. It cannot be saved until something is entered in there. So I'm done with this one, so I'm just going to click Save Field and Exit. So now I've got the first one in there. So now I'm going to add another one. And again, trip and trip checklist. This one I'm going to do passports received. And for this one, you could do a yes or no option if you want. What you could also do is the same thing we just did before. We could do a text box and we could put a date on there so that when you put a date in there, you know that the passports were received. However you'd like. For this one, I'm going to make this position number 2. So it's going to go first row, second column. Okay, so I'm going to click Add New Field one more time. And for this, I'm going to say Insurance Booked with a checkbox. And I'm going to select yes or no option. And once I select that, you can see I get this checkbox here, display as checkbox, which yes, I do want to do. And I'm going to make this position number 3. And then I'll click Save Field and Exit. And then I'm just going to continue to do this and add all of the ones that I want here. So this one I'm going to do Booking Disclaimer Signed. Again, I'm going to say yes or no, display as a checkbox. And I'm going to make this position number 4. And then I'm going to add new field again. Okay, so now what I've done is I've added mainly text boxes or yes or no options, which only require this step. However, if you add a multi-select or a drop-down, there's going to be a step we're going to do later. So this one, I'm going to do a multi-select box for Disney-related bookings. I'm going to name it Disney Bookings, and I'm going to select multi-select. And I'm going to make that 6, position number 6. And then I'll click Save Field and Exit. And now let's take a look and see. I'm actually going to go to a trip to show you what it looks like so far. Okay, so you can see how this looks. We've got, the insurance quote sent. I can put a date in there. Passports received. I can just type it in. However I want to do that. And I can check the boxes here. Now you can see the Disney bookings. We added a multi-select, but there's nothing in there. So what I want to do is I want to go to Settings and then Manage Codes. And then I need to find that field that I just created. And it's in alphabetical order, so Disney bookings, and click go. And now I need to add the codes to that. So again, the code is an abbreviation. And each item you want on there is going to be an additional code. Alright, so I added a few codes in there, so now let's go back to a trip. And now you can see I've got these items here. And it'll take a little bit of time to learn the system and how to move things around and how to put it in the right order. And if you don't like how something looks, like if you want all of these checkboxes to be together, you could go over there and add it as every other, or you could select new line and then just put them there. But if you want things kind of even on each side, you don't want to use the new line, because that would put everything, it would leave the second column pretty blank at the top. So if you don't like how it looks, just go into your edit fields and you can play around with the positioning. So if I wanted this Disney bookings to be on top, I could come in here and make it position number 1, and now it's number 1. And just remember, if it's a multi-select or a drop-down, you are going to have to add the codes after that. If you have any questions, email help@vacationcrm.com, or you can ask on Facebook. Thank you.